y'all, Joefer here, the cranky old gay guy. Okay, it is Monday morning. It is cold as out here. I haven't started driving yet. Just want to talk about a few things that have got me cranky this weekend. I covered something yesterday, so that's not what I'm going to talk about. I'm cranky in general, and it has to do with the changes that are taking place in America. Oh. There was a time when you could plan your future and you're looking forward to things, and you know that if you do this, this, and this, then this will happen. But right now, that's not the case. There's a lot of uncertainty. Trans folks have been attacked for months and months and months during this administration. And now there are all these new rules saying that a trans kid in school has no protections. Trans kids in school have to use the bathroom that they would have been assigned if they were a baby and they were male and they had to use the male bathroom, female bathroom. So that's an issue. I'm not in school. I don't have kids in school. You'd think it shouldn't be an issue for me, but it is, because it's an issue of equality, and the fact that what I thought this country was moving to, which was equality or more equality, has just been wiped from the map. Also on the list of things to be concerned with are the rights of LGBTQ plus individuals. As a gay guy, I know that I'm on a list somewhere. So when the Gestapo people come by to round up the gays, I know that I will be at the top of that list. Not only because I'm gay, but because I have this channel and there's gay in the title. So that's an issue there. I'm not super worried about that just yet. I am concerned that down the road, if the tech companies continue to fall in line with the current administration, I can see restrictions coming. And I know that YouTube already has restrictions to make things family friendly. And if gays and lesbians are suddenly deemed not family friendly, what happens to all of us who have channels on here? And if mainstream media falls in line, like a lot of them have already, or they're shut down, like the current administration is trying to do by filing lawsuits against major networks, and they're pulling funding from public broadcasting stations across the country, and they're trying to get rid of National Public Radio, which, by the way, is where a good portion of America gets its news, because if you live in a rural area, you most likely have a radio station you can pick up somewhere that has National Public Radio. Otherwise, you are left with AM conservative talk radio and Fox News. And national network news doesn't really seem to report on any of the problems that the current administration are creating. They report on events that happen, but they aren't really critical of the current administration or of rules that are taking place. They might mention the rule, but they don't really go in depth and explain what it's going to do to people. And I find that is an issue as well. And I believe that they aren't because they want to stay in favor. They don't want to get attacked. Much like the tech bros that have all lined up behind him, they want to get government contracts. And they know if they speak out against him, they will get axed from that process. And it's all about making money. You have Mr. Musk and his Dodge program that he is the head of. I did read this morning that Ramaswamy, the guy that was his co-runner, has now left Dodge, so he's not part of that anymore. And I also read this morning that Dodge went into the what is it called, USAID, which is the program that helps the poor and with health issues and housing and food and all that stuff around the world. And they do that, well, out of humanitarian reasons, but it also puts the United States in good footing in those areas. So it's like, see what we've done for you in the past. Now, if we need this and this, you'll be on our side. And Trump froze that. And then Trump froze that. And then Dodge went in and tried to access their computer systems and their personnel files. And the security with USAID said, no, get out of here. So they were threatened with getting U.S. Marshals involved. Well, they didn't let him in. And then this morning, I believe, they were all fired by executive order. And Dodge now has, and Elon has access to all of these security files that he doesn't have clearance for, and his group doesn't have clearance for, as well as access to the personnel files of government employees, which seems a violation, that alone in itself. Now, everyone, when they go through your personnel files, they look for things. And if there's anything that is not going along with or in opposition to executive orders, which, by the way, all these executive orders, some of them are sweeping, so you don't really know what they mean, and they're interpreted on the spot by whoever's reading it, whether that's a good or bad person, and that will determine if they're let go or brought back, whatever. It's not right. It's not equitable in any form or fashion, and it shouldn't be allowed, and Congress should be standing up and saying, hey, everybody, and telling the national media that Dodge is not a real organization. It's not a government organization. It's an appointee by Trump to create this thing. They're advising him, but they have zero power, and agencies should not let them in. This is a department that needs to go through Congress to even be approved, and it never was. There was no vetting of any of the personnel there. They're all handpicked people who follow Trump. So that's an issue. Now back to the rights. Right now, there were a lot of promises that were made during the election to the people that voted MAGA. And that was, we're going to end the war in Palestine on day one. We're going to end the war in Ukraine on day one. We're going to bring down the price of eggs on day one. You're going to have the best America ever on day one. I'm only going to be a dictator on day one. Well, so far, all of those things haven't happened. They've all been a lie. So that's something to consider. Also, funding, they pulled the funding. They froze the entitlement funding last week for part of one day. And since every state went up in arms, and organization that receives funding went up in arms and fought back vocally, this was reversed and the funding was reinstalled. And they said, oh, it was just a technical glitch. Well, it's not. It is someone trying to see how far they can go before they can get away with it. The funding is just the first part. They want to get rid of Medicare. They want to get rid of Medicaid. They want to get rid of Social Security. They want to privatize Social Security. And what that means is it'll be managed by a private firm, which means there will be fees involved. So you, not the government, you, the money that you put into Social Security will be used to pay those fees. And that organization will also get to decide how much money you receive. And in order to make money, because that's what Musk wants everything to be a profit center, if they're going to make money on what you put into Social Security, that means they have to invest it. And most likely in the stock market. And if Musk has his way, it will be invested in cryptocurrency. Well, cryptocurrency is highly volatile and fluctuates daily, up and down, up and down, up and down. You can lose a fortune. And if Social Security had been privatized as of last week, Trump wanted to do that immediately as well. And you've been watching the stock market. since Mr. Trump has installed all these tariffs on our friendly countries, as well as China, the stock market crashed this morning. Not wiped out, but went way, way down. And guess what? That would mean that all that money of yours from Social Security that was invested, you would have lost a fortune and your benefits would have been cut. And that's what you get when you vote for someone who doesn't understand economics. He doesn't understand business. He doesn't understand how the government works. He doesn't care to understand any of these things because it's all about him and him making money and him looking good. I don't know if you watch social media, but it went around last week. I only saw it for one day and then it was gone. I don't know why, but it was one of those hot mic moments of Trump. He was talking to some conservative guy at a rally, I believe, or getting ready to go on stage for some kind of an interview. And he was talking about the North Korean leader, Kim, and how great he was. And he said, you know, Kim's very strong and very powerful. And when he speaks, his people stand up and they listen to him. And he said, I want my people, Americans, to stand up and do the same thing for me. Well, doesn't that sound like a dictator? He wants adulation and respect. Why? Well, because he wants it. It has nothing to do with reality. It's just the fact that he wants it. And I don't get why people couldn't see this way, way a long time ago. I mean, when he ran the first time, he was like this. And now it's just worse. And the people in Congress, the Republicans in Congress primarily, if you would all just get together and say no, you wouldn't have to worry about Elon funding people to run against you and taking your seat because you took a pledge to the Constitution, not to MAGA, not to the Republican Party, not to Donald Trump. And the Constitution should come first, and then those other things. So you shouldn't be worried about losing your job because guess what? If you lose your job for doing the right thing, well, then you'll be rewarded for it later, and you can always come back during the next administration, who's not him. If you guys would just get together, come up with a plan, and say no. Because what's happening is he is circumventing your powers. And if you don't stand up, you will have no powers because he will pass some kind of an edict where he is the final word on everything. He's already got spokespeople out there saying that he has granted all power and he gets to decide where money goes in this country. He gets to decide what gets funded, what doesn't. He gets to decide who sits where, who gets what state gets what. And that's not constitutional either. But his people are putting us across that he's in charge. He's the one. He's the man. Well, here's a question. If that's the case, then why hasn't every president been able to do this? Oh, you say, well, maybe they were and they just didn't. Well, yeah, that's because they aren't him. All I can say is Americans need to pull their head out of their arses and call their congressional people, especially the people in red states. Call your congressional people and tell them, this is not what I voted for. This is not what was promised. This is everything that's going to hurt us. You need to stand up for us or we're going to vote you out. They need the threat coming from individuals that they're going to lose their seat and not worry about them putting someone up to run against you. Because if you stand up for the people in your state, the people that you supposedly represent, if you stand up for them and their best interest, they're going to vote you in again, regardless of who is running against you and how much money they've got behind them. That's my message to you, Congress, is pull your head out of your arses, start listening to the people that you actually represent, and believe it or not, everybody in your party, red people, they aren't MAGA people. And they're also going to be definitely not MAGA people later in the year when their benefits start getting cut and prices get so high that they can't afford food or medication. And God forbid that Trump goes through with this new health plan that he has a concept of and stops the one that you have right now. Guess what? Your prices go through the roof. Right now, copays are high. Wait till they're not restricted and they can charge any copay they want. Wait until your monthly premium doesn't have restrictions and you get charged way, way more than you're getting now. Wait till subsidies are gone to help people who don't have a lot of money help pay for that monthly fee for your health care. Well, that's going away too. And who's going to suffer? The poor, the middle class, working class people. And other than New Mexico, the poorest states are red. And all of those states, red states, voted for the MAGA thing. MAGA is not Republican. The Republican Party is a conservative party that upholds the Constitution. MAGA is not that party. MAGA is a cult that follows their dear leader. So that's what's got me cranky today, is because no one's reporting. I shouldn't say no one. If you go on social media, there's a lot of reports, but there's reports from the left and reports from the right. None of the national media is actually breaking this down. And I know that this is going to sound like a liberal thing to say, but look at Senator Warren. Look at, what's her name? Cortez? What's her name? The young one from Brooklyn or the Bronx. She's always getting reamed on the right because she's too liberal. I don't know why I can't think of her name. It's 3 names. What is her first name? Actually, something Cortez. Anyway, you'll know what I'm talking about. She's in the news all the time. You have even Adam Schiff. You have Gavin Newsom. You have Pete Buttigieg. They have all gone on national news programs and talked about what's going on, and Bernie Sanders, what's going on and how the people need to stand up and do something about this, especially the people in the red states, because it's your legislators that are allowing this to happen. If you watched any of the confirmation hearings last week, and they still put these people through, it's ridiculous. The congressional individuals who are on the right, who are considered Republicans or MAGA followers, are giving away your country. They're giving away your rights. They're doing things that are going to cost you a fortune. So if you are not already wealthy or part of the upper class, you are going to be screwed. Now, I know some of you watching aren't going to believe me, but wait till it hits home and you feel it. Right now, eggs, and I know eggs, they say it's because of the bird flu, but I can also tell you that now that egg prices are up, people get used to paying more. When the bird flu's over and egg production increases, eggs are not going to go back to the price they were before. Oh, no. They're still going to say at least $5 or $6 a dozen. Yesterday, they were $12. Yeah, that's local. And that was at an outlet store, which is supposed to be cheaper. If you went to the Kroger store, they were a lot more than that. Even Trader Joe's, which normally has them discounted, they were out. They were out early in the morning. We have reached our egg sales for today. We can't sell anymore. And they do that. I believe they hold them back so they put out a certain amount each day. But unless you're there first thing in the morning and you're going to get those discount eggs, which, by the way, are not cheap anymore, but they're cheaper than Kroger or even the outlet store I went to, you're not going to get them because they put out a certain quantity and then they get all bought up. So what I have done in place of eggs, I am doing tofu scrambles. They don't taste like eggs. They're seasoned like eggs, and they have the texture of eggs, kind of. But, yeah. And I'm not a big baker, so I'm not worried about that. But I do miss eggs. They were convenient and easy and quick. And now tofu, it takes a lot longer to replicate that. That's all I got today. This is going too long. It's already at 20 minutes. The day's just getting started. I need to be off. And anyway, that's why I'm cranky. And please let me know how you feel on this story. And if you condemn what I'm saying and disagree with me, please back it up with facts. And don't just say I disagree with you or you're wrong. Am I blaming any of you who may have voted to the right? I'm not blaming anyone. I'm just asking you to open your eyes and see what's happening, because things are changing. And I didn't even get into the whole immigration issue and how unfair it is to people who are legal residents, who have lived here forever, for years and years, and have homes and businesses, who are getting rounded up and shipped off because they're caught up in the raids and they don't have the proper ID that shows they're a citizen on them at all times, which, by the way, is not required. So they get put in ICE detention, and there have been 2 or 3 stories that have been really pushed out there about people being deported who are legal residents. So the Latin community is, fearful, and I totally get that. I would be scared crapless myself. It's not happening so much here just yet, but it will, especially since Portland is known as a liberal bastion and a sanctuary city. So I know that there's lawsuits right now because of its sanctuary city, and the fact that our government here, regional government, says that we are not going to support ICE in their raids. So the federal government is suing them for that, as well as, I think, Washington and California. The cities, particular cities in those states. Anyway, that's enough. I'm not going to go any further today. Hope you all have a great Monday and a great week. And I hope that things change for the better. Fingers crossed. But I'm not getting my hopes up. All right. Bye-bye. And one last thing. Guantanamo Bay. It is being reopened, supposedly to house the illegal immigrants that they're rounding up. Think about it. 30,000 spaces or cages. Think back to Germany, concentration camps, because Guantanamo is a concentration camp. Think about political prisoners, politicians, media, celebrity, protesters off the street. That's what it's really being designed for, is to move all of those people out of the United States and into a concentration camp. I know you might not believe it, and I hope it's not true, but that is what they have in mind. Also, the U.S. military is currently revising its drafting policies, and it sounds like, if what I'm seeing online from different sources, none of these sources are from the government, so who knows what to trust. These are things that are just coming in tidbits, that there is a plan that the draft for 18-year-olds and over may be coming back. And I don't just mean signing up for the draft, I mean actually serving. And this has something to do with leaks from within the administration that Panama, even though they've now cut back on their Chinese cooperation involvement on roads and things, there is a prediction by many on the left that Panama will be occupied by American troops very, very soon. As will, well, I'm not going to say as will, it depends on how much pushback there is. But if Panama is successfully taken by the United States, Greenland will be next, because Greenland has what they say, less than 500,000 people or something. It's not a great deal in population wise, and the Trump administration wants to seize Greenland because it has minerals, and it wants to pretty much destroy it biologically and ecologically and take everything that it has. Invading these sovereign countries will also give I want to say give credibility to Vladimir Putin for seizing Ukraine, because if the United States can do it, how can we be in opposition of Russia doing it to Ukraine or other countries in Europe? So think about that one too. It just seems the more I hear today over broadcast, podcasts, even AM radio, the day is just getting darker. So I think I need to tune out for the rest of the day because I don't want to get depressed. I wasn't alive during the rise of the Third Reich in Germany, but this is what I imagine it feels like. And by the way, today is the National Latino Walkout Day. So you have several Latin businesses that are closed and several companies that their Latin populations are not showing up today. And this is to protest this mass deportation ruling that Trump is implemented in this country. I hope that it's effective enough that local cities and corporations will then contact their legislatures and put pressure on them to fight against this in Congress. Because right now, Congress, you are losing. Fight back or you're going to lose any power that you have. You're going to lose this country. And I am not someone who has been rah-rah wave the flag patriotism my whole life, but I'm much more of a live and let live. But rules are rules, and there is a system for doing things. And the fact that all of that is just being overlooked and Trump is just walking all over everything and Elon is backing him and you're letting Elon even have any involvement in government is beyond the pale. I don't get that at all. Why the Democrats haven't insisted on vetting him before he has anything to do with the government. Okay, I gotta go. Hope you have a better day than I'm having. Bye.
The days feel dark, the times are troubled. His followers will wake, Daddy T bursting their bubble. He changes his decisions each and every day, depending on the billionaires and what they have to say. The politics, we're heading toward disaster. Those now in charge, they're making it come faster. Your vote, does it mean nothing? Do we have zero say? The Congress is weak now, could it be going away? The president, he's turned against our country's friends, playing with those tariffs that are meant to offend. He's longing to see ends, others so